Hi, I'm Tram Anh Nguyen. I'm the co-founder of CFTE, and I welcome you to the Upskilling series. We all see the world going digital, rapidly transforming our lives, our jobs, and the way we live all together. In fact, the pandemic has only been a catalyst to this transformation, and it's up to us to adapt to this technology-driven world. So how do you adapt to these changes? How do you find talent for the roles that don't exist yet? Well, the Upskilling series aims to find its answers to all these questions by interviewing global experts, CEOs of Fintech startups, and thought leaders to shed some lights on the jobs of tomorrow in financial services and Fintech. Let's start with our next guest. Welcome today, Matthias Kroener, entrepreneur, former CEO of Fidor. Thanks a lot, Matthias, for joining me on this session.
Hi, Tram Anh. It's a particular honor and pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Now, thanks for joining us. We call Fidor the world's first real community bank. For sure, the world's first fintech bank. And I know you, through your hat, as CEO of Fidor. But a lot of questions, are coming to us. And my question to you would be, how did you start your career? Can you tell me more?
Yeah, thank you. Well, actually, I would say we would need to extend the duration of that video because in the meantime, this is quite some years now. No, but joking aside, actually, I started my career. I did not start my career in banking. I started my career in hospitality business. I did a so-called apprenticeship in Munich at a hotel, Kempinski Hotel, and then came to London, by the way, to the Hyde Park Hotel, which is a Mandarin Oriental today. Had the opportunity to, at least for a summer course, go to Cornell University for Hotel and Restaurant Management, did study business and management in Munich then. And one learning in Cornell, one professor did always say, listen, if you want to be a successful manager in the hospitality business, you need to know how the enemy is working. And the enemy is the bank. And that resonated a lot with me, which actually made me then apply at a bank for first intern, and then they offered me a role as a management trainee. And in this time, during that time of being the management trainee, the first one of a 163-year history of this bank, my those days boss came along and said, listen, why don't we set up something like Charles Schwab? And that was back in 1993. Yeah. And I said, well, listen, Charles Schwab, who is Charles Schwab? I only know Ritz-Carlton. And he explained me, it didn't take too long. And we said, yeah, I said, listen, I'm around, I've got time, so why not? Yeah. And we traveled to the US. We had meetings in Boston with Fidelity Brokerage Services. And soon after, we started what then was called Direktanlagebank, DAB Bank, which was the first continental European discount broker. We started this to be precise, on the 16th of May, 1994, as a telephone bank, imagine. Converted this into web, IPO'd it in 99, acquired other brokers, and so on and so forth. I did this for almost 10 years. I left that entity end of November 2002. We then started our own company and said, listen, we need to put our money where our mouth is, which means now we went more into venture cap and investing. And out of those activities, those days, then we emerged the idea of Fidor, which we started the application in 2007. We received license in 2009. And in 2010, we opened our digital doors. I left Fidor then, after selling it to a French incumbent banking group March 2019. Yeah, now it's 2021. In the meantime, I did do many projects in the crypto environment. I'm supporting an investment company in Fintech. I'm an advisor to regulators in the Middle East and Asia. And most importantly, I co-founded with a very, very compelling team, a company which is called Tradelite Solutions. That's about it.
No, You know, Matthias, you have an inspiring journey. And, you know, not coming from finance background, but starting from hospitality and having, you know, build a bank from scratch. This is one of the first one. Is yes, twice. And it's just truly inspiring. And I'm sure that the audience will hopefully resonate a lot to a lot of people. And can you tell us what is Tradelite?
But Tradelite is, I can't tell too much now because still we are in a pre-go-to-market phase. But for you, Tram Anh, I lift the lid a little bit. I would say Tradelite is operating or is offering managed services at the intersection of video games and financial markets, which allows us to provide a total new genre of video games.
Wow. So setting up your bank from scratch to this, it's another shift. And so
but it's not that far away actually. I'm the team of Tradelite is very much convinced that actually the video game industry will eat up financial services. And we will see this change coming. Just imagine approximately 3 billion people are using video games. If you now talk about brokerage, we do see maybe 150 million people, let it be 200, right? So there's a huge gap of acceptance on the one side. On the other side, we see that gamification might be dangerous because it's camouflaging the real risk. So we absolutely promise a massive potential.
Oh, I look forward. How do you personally acquire new skill or upskill yourself?
Yeah, first of all, I would say this is a really interesting question because myself, I'm now 55. All right, and you know, I meet so many people in this age saying, yeah, well, I've seen it. This is it. I'm more or less kind of boiling down, and so on and so forth. But for me personally, it is absolutely necessary to stay curious. Yeah, to what is a very beaten proverb, stay hungry, stay foolish. I would say this is something very much needed. It requires some strong self-discipline actually to stay up, right? When I did leave Feeder on the 31st March of 2019, actually I did not walk out and say, yeah, now I do a kind of whatever sabbatical or I'm gonna go into a Nepalese monastery, find myself and so on. No, all this didn't happen. So first of all, I'm very happy that the market didn't let me go. Second, I was notorious paranoid to maybe miss something, right? And in particular in an environment in which the market is so quickly developing now, just look back the last 2 years, it's unbelievable. So you need to stay up. You need to stay very close to the developments. You need always ongoingly think about how can you drive those forces or how can you benefit from those developments. And this is forcing you to now I had to learn a lot about the gaming industry over the last 24 months, massively. And I think I can, of course, I have not the street credibility of a game entrepreneur, but in comparison to any other banker, I think I know a lot in the meantime. Yeah? Listen it. You've got so many sources in the web, you know, CFT is offering so many options also. Yeah, just do it. Just do it. There is no excuse. There is no excuse.
I agree. There's no excuse. Could you tell me, because I know you care a lot about growing teams. I know some of your team member at Fido before. Could you tell me some successful initiative you got to do to get your team to upskill?
Yeah, what I really like. So first of all, what I'm always focusing on is the leadership team. Because the leadership team, or in classical terms, more or less saying the middle management, is the make or break of each organization. If you have a middle management that is not supporting the vision of the executive board can immediately go home. Yes, spare your energy, go home, have a drink, that's it. What you need to have, because the middle management, by its communication skills and willingness, by the willingness and skill to transport the message and the vision of the executive board, is deciding whether you're going to make it or not, first of all. So this is why, second, all the efforts in trainings, in skill sets, in upskilling is really, for me personally, now, first of all, leadership skills. In particular, when you have a very young organization, and young, I would say, in average age of all employees, when you have a very young organization, you might see really, I would say, the technical skills being existing, but also you definitely will see those need to be trained. But there is this kind of personality-related leadership capability that I would say is mostly lacking. Okay? So this is what I would find to be essential and crucial, and at the end of the day, a make or break, first of all. Second, everything following to this must be in line. This is the corporate communication, together with our partner those days, Kommunikationskolleg. We had a kind of what we called HR operating system, which was a corporate calendar of events in the company. We, of course, and that walks down to salary schemes, remuneration schemes that must link corporate success with individual work, that must come up to kind of when you have individual objectives agreements, that the leadership team is willing to discuss that with the team and is not seeing this as a burden or as a time bandit. You must, this is the investment you need to do. And this starts, by the way, with hiring the right talent. I experienced so many times that my line managers did show up in hiring conversations unprepared, short notice, cancellations, really delivering a very poor experience there. And this is not to be accepted, simply unacceptable. Yeah. So this is very important. And if you ask me about one measure with what I have in mind, thinking about feeder, but also about DRB, Direktanlagebank, is we created something which was called Info Market. And the Info Market was fantastic because we did this with the partner Kommunikationskolleg, a very, very old fellow of mine, and I'm in the supervisory board there. So this is what I'm saying. It's a market on which various teams are presenting their work. And for instance, we did present how to work agile, how to do compliance, and so on and so forth. And the managers are forced to do this in very short bits and bytes of presentations and to engage the audience and to do this in an entertaining way, right? And it's a one-day event. It's like a trade fair. And everybody who once visited something like that came back and said, wow, first of all, what a great team. That's the first time I see everybody. Second, I did not know we do this. This is fantastic. Third, I could contribute. That was amazing. And fourth, you do a party afterwards, and everybody is in love. It's fantastic.
No, it's a very, very good initiative. And any advice now to fellow leaders on upskilling, how to transform your people in a startup?
Yeah, startup cultures are startup cultures are ambivalent cultures. There is, by the team members joining a startup, there might be, I'm not saying it's automatically happening, but there might be a kind of expectation saying, yeah, it's all cool and easy, and we are working in a brick wall office, having table tennis, soccer table, and the bicycle is somewhere hanging on the roof. Yeah, well, guys, I have to say this is not it, right? So this is what maybe Hollywood or Netflix made out of it, but it shouldn't be like this because it's damn hard work. And I would preferably, and this is what we do with Tradelite, by the way, we do not kind of hire juniors. I do not hire juniors anymore. I have to say, out of the learning of the last 25 years, what I want to have is a high-class team of senior experts that have entrepreneurial spirit, customer-centric, problem statement thinking, solution-driven, more interested in solution than in kind of corporate politics, which is kind of the demarcation line to corporations. And then out of this nucleus, then you can grow even into junior functions. And this is something definitely a learning out of all these companies I co-founded or had the opportunity to co-found. where you start, hey, listen, and this is a personal mistake I did in the past, like saying, okay, come on. The rule was acquire attitude and train skills. I have to say I met the limitations to this proverb, right? And I'm more for skills now and attitude. We have to look at it. I would say the market now is existing for that. In particular, because now we are kind of 20 years down the startup environment. It might have been something different late 90s, last decade, but last century, sorry. But I would say start high qualifications and then grow into junior functions, outsource whatever possible, stay flexible whatever possible, understand the changes by COVID, which means actually you're going to set up a decentral organization from beginning. So this is more of it, and understand now. Finally understand, and this is like a self-conversation. Now finally understand the relevance and importance of HR.
No, thanks a lot. It's very, very insightful. We talked about the initiative that you did. Talk to me and share with me what are the challenges. And when I say challenges, is that I think what I have in mind is how do you attract and retain the right talent in order to transform your organization towards a new culture, ways of working? Was it hard?
Well, I always, given the fact that I created those organizations, I never had to change a culture. I always created the culture, right? I never, with the investment company I'm supporting currently, I am first time a little bit in the culture change, but so far my major focus was on creating cultures. Creating a culture is happening by being strongly present, by living your values, by communicating your values, by explaining why you made that decision now on the base of your values. So to connect the values with your day-to-day life. By selecting the team members according to your values, by not making any compromise on this anymore, right? And, you know, the founders of Tradelite, we agreed to prefer not to hire and not to scale, but we will not hire the wrong people. Yeah, preferably we will not scale. Yeah.
So my next question is, you used to hire certain type of people. Now, what are the type of people you're hiring? And what would be the qualities for anyone who would like to be working for you?
Well, I can say that changed massively, and not surprising. That changed massively over the last 28 years. When we created the Anlage Bank, the AB Bank, we've been very much customer-centric, service-centric. By the way, we hired many people out of hospitality to work at the AB Bank, even that it was the customer care center, the telephone agents, and everything else. Remember, when we started the AB Bank, the internet was not really around. We started it as a telephone bank. So because we experienced that, no surprise again, that hospitality labor force is not at all kind of like a banker, complaining to work after 5 p.m., complaining when they have to meet a customer. It's normal living, right? So this is the one thing. Customer centricity, problem statement centricity still is unchanged. You need to understand what problem are you solving. I don't know why this is so difficult for some. I don't simply know. But not my problem, because I'm not going to deal with that part of team members. It changed over the last 30 years that you have to have a team that is way more multi-skilled than in the past. And that makes it so difficult. That is on the one side open to changes and not afraid of changes. That is on the one side bold and brave to jump in, as we would say, to jump into the cold water and not kind of double securing yourself and, what happens, what if, and so on and so forth. It changed that you need to be multi-skilled by understanding processes. You need to think out of target operating models more than from an org chart. You need to think from digital end-to-end data-supported processes more than UX only. So you need to understand what is the value driver of the future. In the same time, in the venture capital business or in the venture cap funded business, You need to understand what is a value driver for your customer as well as for your shareholder. You need to translate KPIs into a great customer experience and vice versa. So you need to really be capable to fully understand that very holistic, multidimensional picture a company like that is working in today. Well, not easy, and that's only working once you are, I would say, a co-shareholder, right? But even then, I can give you many, many examples when maybe the setup of a new company at the end of the day turned out to be a huge misunderstanding in between the founding team. All right, yeah, so you need to be very transparent, you need to be persistent, you need to be paranoid in a positive way, you need to be quick, never satisfied. So this kind of stay hungry translation, so to say, is not easy to find. I'm very happy to have a network, which, some people know me, so some people once in a while ask me what I'm doing now. Some people are then very interested to join, and this is what I'm very thankful and humble for. And we have the privilege then to say, listen, yeah, I did make a very good experience with you, or we fit together very well. I understand we're on the same wavelengths, and so on. Yeah. Again, HR acquisition, team acquisition, essential. I said it for years. I never really followed it. This time it's real.
No, I know you've said it for years, and I've been following you, so I know what you're saying. It is really true.
Man, I really, honestly, of course, you can imagine, when I walked out of Kröner, I did some post-mortem interviews and exit interviews, and I really found out if there is, and we have to be self-critical, right? So we have to be self-critical. Why didn't we come to a value development as maybe like others, like Solaris or like Number 26? Mm-hmm. Because we would have had it all on the table, right? It was there on the desk. Why didn't we make it? Of course, it's easy to always blame third party. That's the easy part. Now, once we skip the easy part, we come to the tough part saying, okay, but what was the part we did wrong? And maybe this is also a cultural component of mine. Okay, self-reflect yourself, reflect yourself also in a critical way, saying, okay, what was the make or break points in the past decisions you did? And I can tell you, at the end of the day, HR is the single biggest point of it. Yeah. So even saying that, and I could even say and kind of shout out to every startup team out there. Listen, whenever you realize that maybe the original startup compilation of the team is not working anymore because you come to a point of development where you have to rethink that, do it. My biggest mistake was maybe I didn't. Yeah. So really don't avoid the tough decisions, right? No. And do not accept compromises. Fight for the right way, and do not accept compromises just because you think that is a better way now, you're going to be loyal, and so on and so forth. It's the wrong way.
No, thanks, Matthias, for sharing, your years of experience, and that I think our audience will remind your piece of advice. Yes. Now I'm coming to the topic of, COVID-19 and the pandemic has impacted a lot of people, and a lot of people today are coming to us because they're losing job, and they have like years and years of excellent, career, in finance, traditional finance, very, very good, career. And today they lost their job, and they're coming to us and they think, I'm not quite sure what to do. And how can I start my fintech journey? What would be, Matthias, your piece of advice to a finance professional who is looking to get into a fintech today? Is it possible?
That's the question. Man, actually, to be honest, that's the question. It's a tough challenge. Mm-hmm. Why? For many, many reasons. And I had the same conversations. Yeah. Now for Tradelite, we had some conversations because we needed to cover the function of CFO and for one of the product environments there. And we had some interviews as a founding team, and we first of all had the rule, we only hire somebody if there's 100% vote of all founders to hire, right? If there's just one of the founders saying, no, I'm not secure, I'm not sure on this person, nice guy, but maybe for cultural reasons, it's not that easy. Now and immediately when you speak about those functions, you speak about traditional bankers that you're talking to.
Mm.
What I found out to be is it's extremely hard and I fully understand it. Please, I have to disclaim upfront, this is not in any meaning criticism, right? It is just describing the situation. It is extremely hard once you come from a very well-paid job, right? And so to say, what I'm always saying, you're living more like P&L than balance sheet. So you come from a very well-paid job, actually, and suddenly you're supposed to be in a startup, which first of all will tell you, listen, forget about it, right? This is your contribution now, first of all. Second, you will experience that this is a make or break thing because this person will say, no, I'm worth, I don't know, 300K, 400K a year. And if you do not pay me, actually, I won't do this. And then, okay, fine, then we'll try it without you, okay? So that's the first hurdle. The second hurdle is in a startup versus a incumbent financial services organization, you need to be generalistic. In an incumbent organization, you're a specialist. Not easy. Again, not easy. Third, you have to be ready to kind of do easy jobs to make, as we would say in German, your own hands dirty, right? So there is no secretary, there is no assistants, there is no kind of office sitting in front of your four-window corner office, which you did fight for the last 20 years in the 25th floor. No, all this is actually, by the way, all this is not a value anymore,
Yes.
right? So this means actually your value set of status symbols and so on and so forth, nobody gives a damn anymore. Second, there is nobody supporting you. You have to do it. We had a conversation with one guy and we said, yeah, we expect you to not only sign off the balance sheet, but also do the accounting work. And then he said, yeah, well, there will be somebody, I can leave it on his or her desk then. I said, who should this be? Actually, the conversation then stopped there, right? So we said, okay, let's have a drink, and this is it. So this is not working again, and you cannot. You have to keep the eyes on the ball. You cannot let the ball fall and actually drop, and say somebody will pick it up. There is no somebody. It's you or it's not. Understand the definition of done. It's done when it's done, and not when you think it's done. It's done when it's really done. Understand timelines, understand execution, understand efficiency, no bullshitting. Yeah, there's no big team where you can hide in. This is the biggest problem. In a big organization, you can hide away because it's not really you're not really mattering, to be very, very honest. In a 50, 20,000 organization, well, will you be the change maker? I don't know. So it's not really mattering. In a 3-people team, yes, you are. Yeah. So this visibility is something this is the heat in the kitchen then, yeah? So many multi-dimensional change. And that's why I'm saying I'm totally with you, Tram Anh, not easy. Not easy. I would say the majority will not make it.
Yeah, no, it's true. Everything that you said is so true. It's very, very true. And so now we're talking about future. Now that we're talking about future, what do you think, from now, what are the top jobs that you are seeing being created today and most in demand compared to perhaps 5 years ago?
Yeah, everything. And I guess I'm not saying anything new there. Anything that is understanding, and then I speak very much out of my perspective now, yeah? But everything that is understanding the usage of data. I would say how to use data to create additional services and revenues would be for me a job profile, which I in particular in banking, financial services, I do not find too many really understanding that. Everything regarding where we see a lot of activities going on around tokenization, right? Alternative asset classes. This will be very much needed, by the way, because we see inflation coming up, which was easy to predict. How could we expect not to have inflation when trillions are flooding the market? Trillions, literally. This is why the unicorn today is the new normal. So yeah. Everything process-centric, platform thinking, digital only, everything like that. Or if you might think, no, all this is BS, this is not what I'm going to be, or I don't want to be in, Yeah, well, then create a concept which is 100% analog and is showing actually a very strong counter case to the digital environment. I think that might be also very successful, right? So, so data related, IT related. It's less marketing in the past. Like in the past, we had marketing agencies, those kind of funny picture creating people and doing their demos and so on. Forget about it. Sorry, guys, forget about it. Event management. I'm very sad. Forget about it. Understand. Maybe you become a Zoom moderator. Maybe this is a new profile. I don't know. Yeah, it could be something. So understand the environment. Just look at how you behave yourself and understand how that is impacting your business and professional career.
No, it's very, very good. So we know what's your position. You totally right. I like the concept of being non-digital as well and position yourself there and be very strong.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Matthias. And if there was one thing that people, would like to share to our audience about you, and how can people find you?
Now, how can people can find me on LinkedIn most easily? That's definitely my most frequented kind of communication place. Absolutely happy to be there. We need we definitely need team. We, for instance, currently seek for a CTO function. So I'm very happy to get applications there. I'm happy to speak about the gaming idea that we are following there. So this is where you meet me.
No, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for your time, because I know you're very, very busy. So I appreciate, you spending time with me and with our audience, and connect with Matthias, on LinkedIn. And for those, who are looking to get into a role of CTO and join Matthias' team, get in touch with him. It was a pleasure, Matthias. Thanks a lot for your time. And I really hope to welcome and to meet, in person in London, come and see us anytime. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, man, thank you again so much for having me. And it's an enormous pleasure to always get in contact again and again. No, London definitely will be on the list. You know why.
Thanks a lot. See you soon.
Thank you for watching. I hope you've learned a lot. I'm already looking forward to the next interview. In the meantime, if you wish to learn more about the new world of finance, I invite you to check our previous videos where we welcome many guest experts to share their views. You can check out CFT's blog and articles to learn more and start your fintech journey. If you'd like to go further, you can acquire the basics in fintech, AI or open banking under 40 minutes with our free masterclasses from our experts. You can find all this information in the description below. Again, thank you for being with us today, and see you for the next interview.